You said something else earlier with Mitt Romney. Yeah, I want everybody to start at the same level when they get started, right? Versus it's not fair that Mitt Romney's kid, or Mitt Romney's a bad example. We can use anybody's kids.
Paris Hilton.
Paris Hilton, exactly. That's a great example. That's the better example, actually,
Right, yeah.
to say, it's not fair. Who is she to all of a sudden, hey, I'm doing a documentary, people want to watch me, look how cool I am, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so what should it be? So let's just say I am the Hilton family, and we got $2.5 billion of money. How much of that should end up going to Paris?
Well, that's a good question. I think that needs to be debated by the people and determined by the people. But if you're asking my personal opinion,
I want to know yours.
Yeah, my personal opinion. I think I wouldn't go as far as some of the revolutionaries to say like she should literally start with nothing and inherit nothing. I think that's far too extreme.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't lose a wink of sleep if she went from having $2.2 billion to, let's say, having $50 million. I think Paris would be just fine with
99%.
And honestly, I think this exact example,
crazy.
I think is a good example where a lot of people would see where I'm coming from, whereas there's others where it might be a little more
Give your argument.
Yeah.
I got to follow up to that.
No, I mean, because because the way we think of the economy, we think of it, some people do, I should be clear, as like it's a merit-based thing. It's a meritocracy.
Yeah.
I don't buy that at all. I think your human value versus your market value are totally separate things. And we judge everything based on market value. So somebody like Paris Hilton, what has she contributed to the world? She's contributed nothing. And we're going to feel bad if she inherits $50 million. And that's just because people would look at it on paper and say, well, her dad had $2.2 billion or whatever the fuck. And it's like, I think she's going to be okay with $50 million. I think the people that I'm concerned about are the people who are busting their ass and getting absolutely nowhere, people who work 2 or 3 full-time jobs and they don't make enough money to survive. And I think one of the best groups that you can tax in a society is rich dead people to give everybody else a chance.
They do tax rich dead people. It's called the estate tax.
True, but it's like 0.001%. It's a very, very tiny number. I think it kicks in. You can fact check me on this. I think it kicks in over $5 million or $11 million.
20 million is the number.
Oh, now it's 20 million.
It's been that. Well, it goes back and forth between different administrations. Bush pumped it up.
Yeah, but it's very high, right?
Yeah, but still, you know what the tax? When you said 0.1%. That's not what they're paying in tax.
No. Oh, I know that. No, I'm saying it only applies to the top point.
What percentage of people are worth $20 million? But do you know what the estate tax actual amount is? Do you know the number?
50, 75?
Exactly.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So if you're worth $50 million,
right? Mm-hmm.
There's a 20% threshold, so that's tax exempt. And now you're paying that $30 million additional, you have to pay 50% to the government. The death tax. Number one, you've already been taxed prior to receiving that money. So it's a double taxation, which we can go on for days on how that works. So you already paid the income tax, ordinary income tax, or whether it's capital gains, what have you. And now, speaking of dead people, now you need to pay an additional 50% upon death.
But would you say Paris Hilton earned it? That's my question.
But that's not, I don't, Paris Hilton, she came up with the word, that's hot. That went viral. Good for her. Awesome. But regardless, Paris Hilton is the perfect poster child for someone who has just lucked out and got the money.
Correct.
But I say we stay on this story. This is a good example.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But should the Hilton family that created industries, hotels, jobs, brands, everything, are you saying that they should be taxed at 99%? Forget about Paris or Nikki or whatever brother or sister. Who cares? The only reason we know their names is because she's famous and she's kind of, had the ability to leverage her name to become famous, and kudos for her for that. But you're saying that the family should be taxed because they've done so well?
No, in this instance, I'm specifically talking about Paris and how much money I think she could get. And clearly I'm pulling this number out of my ass because, it asked me to come up with a number on the spot because I don't know. I actually don't know how much money her family had. I don't know how much money she had.
This isn't, I think the audience knows that we're just having a conversation.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, so, but I think my point is, the fact that she's inheriting $50 million when her only contribution to society is that she's part of the lucky sperm club, like, I don't feel bad for her. And I don't think she's a victim. I don't think she's oppressed.
Yeah.
I think if Paris Hilton got $50 million, she wouldn't lose a wink of sleep, and we could actually, and there's the more important point, take the money that we're taxing, and under a system that I'm in control of, if I was God, Emperor, King, right, what I would do is I would take that money and put it towards things that actually help people. Now,
how much of that move the needle, though?
Let me come to a point of agreement with you, though. I would agree with you if you say, hey, let's do this tax on Paris right now. I would say, Well, I need to see where that money's actually going to go. What are we going to allocate that money to? Because if you say I'm going to take that money and I'm going to turn around and use it to bomb Afghanistan into smithereens, then I say, you know what, we're right. We probably shouldn't do that plan because I don't want that money going to bomb poor innocent kids. But if you tell me we're going to take that money and put it towards whatever, fill in the blank, a UBI program, healthcare, then I'd say, yeah, that makes sense.
So then the challenge with that becomes you're going back to ESG. It's a form of ESG to control where my money goes to. And somebody may say, who the hell are you to decide where my money should go to? But this is a different follow-up question I got for you. The follow-up question I got for you is the following. You have you have 3 kids.
Yes.
You can 3 kids.
I'm stepfather.
Are you planning on having more kids yourself?
We don't know.
Okay, let's just say you do or you don't. Sure. We have 3 kids. Okay. What percentage of what you know are you willing to share with your kids?
What percentage of my knowledge?
Yeah, your knowledge, your life experience.
I'd share it all with them if I could.
That's unfair, though. We should tax it.
Knowledge is not the same as wealth.
But it is, though.
I wouldn't say that.
Let me explain to you why it is.
Go ahead.
I mean, are you kidding me? Like, if I was a kid and I was every night I come home and I'm having dinner with you, and you're asking me all these tough questions and we're getting into it, you know what you're doing to my brain? I mean, are you kidding me? My brain is getting sharper just by being your kid because I have to be sharp to be your kid. You're going to challenge me. You're going to push back. You're going to say, why do you think this? What about this? And do you know the story about this? Versus another person that is raised by a simple father that doesn't have your kind of knowledge. That kid's like, yeah, we never talked about that kind of stuff. We just talked about basic stuff. So to me, if I have the edge of a father like you, I think that is also unfair to say, well, you can pass down the wisdom and the knowledge that you have, which is way more because you're more well-read than the average father. We should tax some of that knowledge and only 20% of it goes to your kids or 5% of it goes to your kids because 2 kids comparing a parent that is not as knowledgeable as you versus another one that is at 18 years old, we're not having a fresh start. Your kid's got an edge over my kid because your kid has got a little bit more challenging conversations at night than others do. You know, like the Kennedy's families, their tradition was at night they would sit down and have debates and they would have conversations. I think that is a very, very big edge. But I think you ought to be able to pass on anything you want to pass on to your kids, even if it's all the knowledge and the wisdom that you have.
So, just out of curiosity, let's say, take me out of the equation. Let's just use an example of somebody who's probably closer to this. But let's say Elon Musk becomes a trillionaire. When Elon Musk dies, should he be able to pass $1 trillion to his kids?
Well, he won't because he'll pay the estate tax.
No, but I'm asking you in your ideal system. I told you in my ideal system what it would be like.
Fair enough.
What do you think
So of that trillion, what do his kids get?
But let's just say
the whole thing.
Let's say he's worth $3 trillion, which is very likely for him to worth $3 trillion. And the reason why I'm using 50% is still going to be $1 trillion going to the kids, right? $1.5 trillion going to the kids. Yeah, I think yes, because a couple different reasons.
All of it?
Let me explain to you why.
I'm
yes.
willing to listen, of course.
Because to me, so you ever been to the Hearst Castle or you ever been to what is that one?
Hearst Castle in California.
Yeah, what is the J. Paul Getty Museum? I don't know if you've been to the J. Paul Getty Museum in L.A. It's really cool. If you ever go to L.A., it's off the 405 freeway. It's a really cool place to go to. Okay, this guy had 5 kids. I don't know the exact numbers, but he left his kids only $1 million apiece. Okay. And he took the rest of the money and he put it in an account, and the interest on that account gave the world a free museum. So when you go there, you don't pay for it. It's a free museum. And by the way, it's a sick place on a sick location where you go up and takes you up. The only thing you pay for is parking for your car. You don't pay anything else is when you go there, okay? Get the pictures, get the whole 9, free. That was part of his cause. That's what he wanted to do. He only gave his kids $1 million. Now, the other day we did a course on generational wealth. Vanderbilt's, they gave their money to their kids. Do you know the Vanderbilt's wealth only lasted 2 generations? Like when Anderson Cooper's mother sat down with them and said, hey, Anderson Cooper, I know we're a Vanderbilt, but you're not a trust fund baby. There's no money to be given to you. You got to figure out how to make your own money. What did Anderson Cooper do? Make $200 million of his own money.
He went to work.
But
he's bad at his job, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
But you know what? He went and made his money, and he probably used a little bit of the last name and the connections and all that. But then some of the families, the money's been kept for 6, 7 generations. Right. Medici, you can look at some of these other ones. Love them or hate them, they've kept the money in their family. Whether it's Rothschilds, Koch brothers, these are some of the most hated people in the world because the money's been passed down. And the general feeling of, dude, I got started and I had nothing. You're already rich just because your last name is XYZ. I think it's the parents' decision to do what they want to do with the money. Unfortunately, most of the parents don't make the right decision on how they give the money to the kids. Nowadays, there's a lot of different. There's a company called Ronald Blue that helps you set up estate planning. And it's so funny. They have a meeting with your kids, and they'll say, listen, you guys are the Kulinski family. Great job. Your family has an estate. For you to participate in the estate, you have to do the following. If you don't get any of it. If you do, it goes, you get this much by 30, this much by 35, that much by 40, this much by 45, this much by 50. The most responsible one, if you qualify, will run the companies. If you're not and you're doing stupid things, you won't be running the companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think the parents who screw up with the money, that kid is not going to keep the money anyways. They're going to spend the hell out of the money. It's not hard to spend $300 million. If a kid is a dumb kid, they'll spend the money like this. But if the parents have done proper estate planning, that kid has to keep working and doing it right to participate in a portion of that money. There's a way to put in to say you have to give this much of your money away every year. You have to give that much away. You have to do this. You have to do that. So there is a lot of this one right here. This is one. I can't even believe I'm giving these guys an endorsement. These guys do actually a very good job with their business. But there's a lot of companies like this to do that. So for me to you, yes, I would say it's the parents' decision to do whatever they want to do with the money.
All right, but let's go back to the original example of Elon, because I have what I think is a very difficult question for you. So you said, let's argue hypothetically he's worth $3 trillion. In my world, I think a significant amount of that would be taxed, and his kids would be fine. They'd get millions, but I don't want to pass $3 trillion to them. And look, it's a scale, right? Some people revolutionaries would go as far as to say, like, tax the whole shebang, and then people on the other side would say, yeah, no, don't tax it at all. But what if I told you, what if there was a program, we're going to tax that $3 trillion? Let's just make up some numbers here. Let's say $1 trillion of the $3 trillion is taken by the government. But let's say every dollar of that $1 trillion goes to a program which helps eliminate homeless veterans in America. Would you say, yeah, that's a program I could get behind?
Does he choose to do that?
No, it wouldn't. It would be government.
I'm not a force guy. I'm a choice guy. That's the problem. See,
so So what tax? Are you okay with any taxes?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay with some taxes.
Which ones? Curious.
Like what percentage or?
What percentage? Well, we don't need to get into percentages, but what kind of tax? Is it like sales tax, income tax? What taxes do you think are okay?
If I had it my way, I would like a flat tax. If I had it my way, I prefer a flat tax where everybody's being taxed the same exact way.
So it's an income tax, but it's a flat rate.
Yeah, and by the way, this is for me to disagree with a Ronald Reagan who likes the progressive idea. A lot of conservatives are progressive. I'm more flat tax. I'm more, allowing. For example,
Steve Forbes.
Yeah, I think a flat tax model.
And what would you do, like 15%? What would it be?
15 points is good.
Yeah, because the issue with a flat tax, in theory, I agree with you that in theory it sounds, it's appealing. But the problem with that is effectively it's a regressive tax, which means it hits the poor more. Because right now there's about 50% of the country that doesn't make enough money to pay any federal tax.
So they
pay zero.
I actually disagree. Because if there's a flat tax, a lot of the billionaires that are not paying right now would have to pay because it's flat tax.
So that's true, but on the other end, you'd have these people, 50% of the country is basically paying no federal taxes. They'd have to pay 15% of their income, and they can't afford to do that.
There should be a threshold.
So let me,
if you make less than
25. I'll give you the idea here on this part. This is the one side of the argument with taxes that I haven't shared with you. So you remember when Andrew Yang came out with the UBI and he said, well, this is what Milton Friedman said, and I'm just doing what Milton Friedman proposed. No, Milton Friedman came out with the negative income tax. Which you have to work to earn it. And then up to this point, we would help you out with the 50%, but you got to also contribute to society.
So subsidize the lower end.
Absolutely. I actually, to me, I'm the earn the right to vote. Earn the right. Everything to me is earn the right. Go earn the right to be able to do X, Y, Z. You contribute to society in whatever way you want to contribute to society, you get a louder mic. You don't contribute to society, you shouldn't be able to have a louder mic. If I'm one of your kids, you got 4 kids, let's just say, and they all decide to live in your house. They're all above 18. Like, Dad, I want to live with you. I love you so much. I want to live with you. If one of the 4 kids isn't paying rent, and say it's the second oldest one, should he have same amount of say as the youngest one that's paying rent to you on a monthly basis? No. The youngest one is saying, Dad, I'll pay $1,000 a month because I got a job. The second oldest one's like, nah, I just want to chill out. I don't want to pay anything. And he parties his ass off. Or he doesn't want to get to work. Go apply for a job. Nobody wants to hire me. You haven't applied for something for 6 months. What do you mean nobody wants to hire you? I have a very big problem with that person having a voice in that house saying what to do. You haven't earned the right to have a voice.
So the issue with like earning the right to vote is that if you look at the, old school Jim Crow South, they had this thing like you have to do a poll test to show that you're a good citizen, that you understand the country before you can vote. And that was just like a stealth way to try to take away the vote from poor people and from minorities. So, I mean, look, we live in a country, there's going to be some percentage of the country that are just fucking idiots. But that doesn't mean you could, take away their basic rights. So I think that, everybody, as long as they're over a certain age, I think they deserve the right to vote.
If that's the standard, that we set, then yes, you're right. Some people will be fucking idiots if you're going to say that's the standard. But if the standard is to set and say, hey, look, I'm not asking you to be a millionaire. I'm not asking you to be a billionaire. I'm not asking you to go be a CEO. What I am asking for is go contribute to society. I don't care what it is. If you contribute to society, I'm all in. I'm not going to judge you if you're making $48,000 a year. I'm not going to judge you if you're making $700,000 a year. What I will respect is the fact that you are contributing to society. Yesterday, we're staying at the Comfort Inn. And this one lady, we start talking to her. So, hey, she asked us, how was Christmas? Great, we had a great Christmas. We're all downstairs in the lobby. I'm trying to do the Zoom. And we're having a regular breakfast at Comfort Inn. You already know what the breakfast is going to look like. It's not a crazy breakfast. But this one girl, I can tell you the tattoos she had on her neck, on her hand. She's cleaning up everywhere like you wouldn't believe. And she asked, how was you? How was this? Oh, my God, it was great. Well, my boyfriend and I tried to go to Christmas together, but we couldn't because we had an issue, so we had to spend time together. We didn't go to my parents' house. And then, hey, do you have a straw? She goes upstairs, grabs a straw of her mom's, and she says, I washed it, everything. I know it's not it's a used straw, but I cleaned it for you. Do you want to use this for your kid? Because, our baby only, and my nanny's like very sensitive with stuff. She's like, no, I'm not going to use that straw. And rather than giving an attitude, she says, no problem, I'll be back. The girl gets in the car, goes to her place, brings 2 straws that are covered with the whole thing around it. And she says, here, so where'd you get that from? Oh, I went home and got it for you. You're kidding me. No. Do you know how much respect I got for that person that's working at that Comfort Inn?
Absolutely.
You know what I did to her? I gave her a tip. She said, no, we can't accept tips. I said, well, I'm going to leave this money here. Don't take it if you don't want to. This money's staying here. So you can either leave it here or someone's going to take it. She said, well, if that's the case, I'll take the money. I said, you've earned the right. I value service. I have the same amount of respect for that girl to giving me that kind of service and the guy that pulls up in a Lamborghini who's making $20 million a year, because you're contributing to society.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.